Caribbean Princess has been getting a lot of trash talk lately from some influential review sites and travel agents. I cruised on the Caribbean just a few months ago and it was one of my favorite Princess cruises, so I decided to go back on board to see what was going on. Although it's still a great ship, I did have a few disappointing experiences that made me rethink things. In this episode of the Chill Cruiser, I'll dive into 3 things that have changed and the 6 areas that haven't that still make the ship unique. Hey cruisers, Andrew from Ottawa, Canada here. Welcome to the Chill Cruiser, where I review cruise ships from a chill perspective, sharing tips on how to save time, money, and grief on your cruise vacations. I recently went back on board Caribbean Princess with a friend to make sure that the flattering review I shared just a few months ago is still accurate. Several people have mentioned to me recently that travel agents were saying the ship is too old and dated, with some even saying there are major plumbing and air conditioning issues. Halfway through my second cruise, I was ready to record my first ever short video to say that you should be wary of the people complaining about the ship and that all was still great. But then I had a few disappointing experiences that forced me to rethink that position. I also had the chance to chat with a few subscribers who recognized me and shared their experiences. In some areas like the physical condition of the ship, it felt the same. But in other areas like food, service, and nightlife, there was a noticeable decline. On some nights, it felt like I was back at the Majestic Princess retirement home and not the fun ship I remember in October. But first, let's address the noise about the physical condition of the ship. The ship itself is still in great shape, and yes, the plumbing and AC was working just fine for me and everyone I spoke to. Yes, the ship is 20 years old and the decor is dated in many areas, but I stand by my original review that what it lacks in modern decor, it makes up for in many other areas. Technical issues like bugs ordering food on their app are happening on all Princess ships right now, not just Caribbean. Where you notice the ships age most is in the cabins, which are long overdue for a facelift. Other cruise lines with ships this age like Celebrity have completely ripped out and replaced the cabins with modern chic design and amenities. Princess just made minimal cosmetic updates in its last dry dock. But it's worthwhile noting that Celebrity is often at a much higher price point these days than Princess. If modern design touches are important to you, then Caribbean is definitely not for you, and you should stick with the newer Royal or Sun class ships or explore cruise lines like Celebrity or Royal Caribbean. Just be prepared to pay more. I notice small things looking dated every day, but I always experience something that more than compensated. I'll quickly cover 6 examples, starting with cabins. They may be dated, but they're functional, and balconies on several decks are twice as deep compared to Royal class ships, so you get more outdoor space. In our mini suite, the chairs had a footstool, which was a nice touch. Another area I really appreciated about Caribbean was the casino. On newer ships like Enchanted, the casino is always packed, like 100% full. 75% of those machines are in the smoking section, and there aren't nearly enough of the most popular machines to meet demand. Even though Dragon Link is one of the most popular slot machines right now, Enchanted has only 4 of them, none of which were ever free on my recent 10-day cruise. Caribbean has twice as many with 8 machines spread out in both the non-smoking and smoking sections, and the smoking section makes up less than half of the space. One subscriber did mention to me that he felt the tables were too cramped for his taste, so he focused on slots instead. The casino staff and hosts were also much friendlier and helpful than my last time on this ship, which led me to give the casino my first and only 1-star rating. A special shout out and thank you to Jan for very patiently helping us use our comps in the sanctuary. I would happily upgrade my rating of the casino to 5 stars. Another aspect of Caribbean I really like is the number of pools and hot tubs, especially at the back of the ship, with a pool, hot tub, kids pool and water park, and 2 bars spread across 4 decks. The 2 pools in the middle are separated so the spaces never felt too big, and the retreat pool is a really cozy adults-only area at the front of the ship. Right above the aft pool is a nightclub and observation lounge, which is unfortunately fast becoming extinct on Princess ships since they're removing all of their nightclubs. This is a really fun space with a great DJ and bartenders and the perfect venue to meet people and dance the night away. Another amenity Caribbean features that is also unfortunately becoming extinct on Princess ships is Churchill's Cigar Bar, which is a really cozy club-like space with a very well-equipped bar and even a virtual roulette table. My smoking friend really loved this space, and it's a shame Princess is replacing them with arcades that no one uses. The last area that makes Caribbean Princess special is the crew. Almost everyone from the bartenders to the servers offered very warm and friendly hospitality that I haven't seen consistently on other Princess ships. The guest services team was also the best I've ever experienced on any Princess ship, with special thanks to Olivera and Candace. Unfortunately though, there were signs that new leadership on board has started to let some of that warm hospitality and focus on fun slip. Several people told me they had experienced bartenders being very rude to them, One person I met was so upset after her interaction with a certain bartender that she was in tears. I also experienced this behavior firsthand with one bartender who was probably the least friendly crew member I've ever experienced in all of my 40 cruises so far. We had so many amazing interactions with crew on board, so this was definitely the exception and not the rule, but it is sad to see that this kind of guest treatment is being tolerated by the new leadership on board. I certainly didn't see or hear of anything like this when I was on board in October. On the last night when I tried to get into one of the main dining rooms for dinner, the host said there were no tables and basically told me to go away, even though it was only 6 o'clock in the evening. When I went to the other dining rooms, they all had long lineups. So I went to the buffet that night, which had a very poor selection of dishes that I had already seen multiple times on the cruise. Another disappointing difference from my last cruise on the Caribbean is that the activities team wasn't as visible or engaging. In October, I saw the cruise director and several activities team members almost every night in the piazza, dancing and chatting with guests. On this cruise, even though there was a much younger crowd, they seemed to focus all their time at game shows and trivia, leaving the piazza to be a fairly lifeless place most of the cruise. Which is a shame because in October, there was a much more fun atmosphere. They also missed a big opportunity on Embarkation Day, which also happened to be St. Patrick's Day. Close to half of all the guests on the ship were dressed up in some clothing or accessories to mark the day, including me and my new friends on the guest relations team, and yet there were no special parties to mark the occasion or any Irish music playing anywhere, which was a real shame. After 7 cruises on 5 ships over the last year, it seems like there's 2 factions of leaders behind the scenes duking it out on Princess. One trying to make the ships feel like a sedate retirement home, and the other trying to appeal to a more diverse audience with more active and fun things to do. It's sad to see that the Shady Pines faction seems to be winning so far. When I asked subscribers and new friends for their final ratings of the ship, I got variations of a 6 and 7 out of 10, which I think is fair. There's a lot to like about Caribbean Princess, but like other Princess ships lately, the experience can be very inconsistent. Watch out for my next review, where I'll review my 2 cruises on Enchanted Princess, which were very similar to Caribbean in that sometimes on the second sailing, I felt like I was on a different ship. You can find my detailed review and tour of Caribbean Princess here. Thank you for watching, and happy cruising.